concerts have been going on for over a decade now, and even with the live band and all the technological elements that need to work perfectly, there have rarely been any mistakes at these concerts, which is honestly very impressive. That being said, there have been mistakes at these concerts ranging from minor to very huge issues. So let's go over these mistakes in timeline order of when they occurred. The first mistake happened all the way back at the first Thanksgiving Day concert in 2010, and it happens during Luka's performance of Just Be Friends. The song starts as normal as Luka raises the mic to her mouth to start singing, apart from the fact her mouth is not moving. Unless she's showing off her skills of being able to sing without opening her mouth, it seems they forgot to program the mouth movements for the beginning of the song, as when it next performs in 2011, her mouth now moves. The rest of the performance does have the correct lip sync, however in the middle of the song during the instrumental, Luka moves the mic up to her mouth as if she was going to say something, but she doesn't say anything. There is no mouth movements and there is no voiceover either. Not sure why they programmed the movement for her to say something and then not put it to use, but at the very next performance in 2011, it is now fixed and Luka uses it to thank the crowd. Thank you, LA. This is definitely a minor issue because you can't really see the character's mouth movements when you're there in person, but you could at least not zoom into it during the footage. Moving on, the next mistake happened at Miku Pa Hong Kong 2012 during the last song before the encore. Miku was performing Tell Your World and it was all going smoothly before something went wrong near the end of the performance. It seems Miku got bored and decided to start singing Look This Way Baby. Honestly, I have no idea how this could have happened, but it really changes my perspective on how the concerts actually work. I just assumed the render and the vocals were connected to one file, so when they hit play, it guarantees that the audio would be synced with the lip sync. But if the render and the vocals are separate, that means they have to press play on the render and press play on the vocals at just the right time so they're in sync. Why does that sound more complicated than it should be? If that is the case, and the render and the vocals need very perfect timing to get in sync, I need to give a huge props to the staff behind it because it just makes the lack of mistakes over the years even more impressive. But it would be funny to see another mistake like this happen, and I have to wonder if the staff members when this happened were laughing or just panicking, because you can hear just how quiet the audience got after it happened. The next mistake that happened was at Miku Pa Kansai 2013, and it was a pretty big one, to the point that it was cut out of the official release. The concert itself was going fine until Miku appeared to give her speech. And her vocals just did not work. Not sure if the staff forgot to press play or it just did not play for some reason. You can kind of gauge what she's saying as her speeches are pretty similar to each other. It's actually the exact same movements from the Sapporo concert earlier that year, but I don't think she was going to say the exact same thing as this one because the lip sync looks a little different to me, but I don't know. I guess we'll never know what she was trying to say. And I love how confused the crowd was and the way they just cheer anyway. And it could be why in a later part of the show, before Though My Song Has No Form, Miku does a speech before it, and it actually works and the crowd cheers really loudly. It seems Miku found her voice this time. And as I mentioned, this failed speech was completely cut from the official release of the concert. Instead, it's just cut like Miku appears, bows, waves, and then the next song starts. And the reason we know it went wrong in the first place is because this show was actually live streamed, and this is the live streamed footage. Some would call it an immersion break, but I just think it's funny. This next one is another really big mistake. We don't have any footage of the actual incident, but we do have the aftermath as it was featured on the bonus disc. At Magical Mirai 2015, possibly the worst thing that could happen at a Miku concert happened. During one of the day's performances, in the middle of Remote Control's performance, the projector died and completely cut off. And on top of that, Rinnelen's vocals stopped as well. The band had to continue to perform the song in full as an instrumental, and when it finished, the lights came on and the concert was paused. The footage that we have is of the staff members trying to figure out the issue and how to fix it. I can't speak Japanese, so I don't know if they actually stated in the video what the issue was or how they were fixing it, but I do love how all the audience members were very supportive of the staff. You can hear many people calling out to them and cheering them on. They were very patient, and the issue took about 10 minutes for them to solve, and then it cuts to seeing the band members performing the outro of Remote Control again, before the venue's lights fade out and Nostalgic starts, and Mako successfully appears on stage to the excitement of the crowd and the relief of the staff. But I have to say, it's amazing that this, to my knowledge, is the only time the projectors have ever malfunctioned in all the years that the concerts have been held. And it's honestly impressive that this has never happened on a tour, because I imagine the projectors have to be fragile, and all of the traveling they've done for all of the tours. It's impressive that there hasn't been at least one instance of this happening on tour. Applaud to the staff again, they don't get appreciated as much as they should. Moving on to 2016, we have another case of Miku singing incorrectly. During the Miku Expo North American tour, at the evening show of the New York concerts, the concert was going fine until we get to the encore, and Miku appears and announces the next song, Thank You, which starts off fine before Miku gets a little too excited and starts singing too early. And as you can hear, it does get corrected just a few lyrics in, and the rest of the song continues as normal. And again, it makes me question, do they really have to press play on the render and the vocals separately? But again, it's impressive considering the amount of songs that they have to do this for and perfectly sync up with each concert. So if this is a possible error for each and every song and each and every concert, it's impressive it only happened the once. And another possible oopsie here is that the guitarist starts playing a little weirdly after the first chorus. It does sound a little out of place, but I don't know if it was intentional or not. Regardless, it's another instance of Miku missing her cue, and I believe this is the last time it's happened, or at least that we have documentation of. But next we have another case of Luka and some messed up lip sync. It seems she can't catch a break with that. Stardust Utopia returned to the stage in 2018 after not being performed since its first performance in 2010. And unlike before, where Luka's problem was that she didn't open her mouth, this time the issue is that she didn't close it. At the end of the chorus, she holds a long note. However, even after she stops singing, her mouth is still open. And here's a closer look at it again at Magical Mirai 2019. And at Magical Mirai 2023. Unfortunately, it hasn't had the luxury of being fixed like Just Be Friends, and unlike a lot of songs returning from the very early days, the performance didn't get a huge revamp, and instead used the exact same motion data from the original, and it was just slapped onto Luka's newer model. How can I know it's the exact same motion data? Well, in the 2010 performance, Luka holds this end note for a lot longer. So if we sync up the 2010 audio to the newer performance, it makes sense why her mouth is still open. It does make me wonder why the extended note was dropped, and if they noticed her mouth being open for longer now, because now that I've noticed it, I can't unsee it, but even then, it's open for an uncomfortably long time without any sound. I don't know how they didn't notice. So yeah, if I can't unsee Luka singing an invisible note, neither can you. And it's not my fault they keep zooming into the issue. But on the note of Luka, this isn't really a mistake, but more of just a difference in how they create performances now. We all know the song Magnet, but in 2018, it got to perform on the larger stage at Magical Mirai. And with the improvement of projectors, we can now see that Luka is floating. And they don't exactly hide this because guess what? They zoom in on it. Obviously, it was done like this to show that Luka is a few steps behind Miku, but if we compare it to a recent performance where characters step behind each other, they don't do that. And if they didn't walk behind someone else, we wouldn't have known that they were a few steps behind. I'm not sure if the floating was an intentional detail or just something that ended up happening because of the way they rendered performances back then. happen, because you don't really notice it in the old performances unless you're really looking for it, because looking at it, there is just a dark space behind where the characters are performing, and when the lights turn off so it isn't illuminating where the floor actually is, it does look like Luka is standing further back. But there is no dark cover like that at Magical Mirai, so it's just brightly illuminated that Luka is just floating there, which is a little funny to see. I wonder if they noticed it, was just like, can't be bothered to fix it, they won't be able to notice from the audience anyway, and they would have gotten away with it if the cameraman didn't zoom in on it and bring all attention to it. Now for the most recent mistake, if we blindly ignore the absolute mess that was the 2024 North American Miku Expo Tour, and that's at Miku Expo Online 2021. All of the characters got to perform brand new songs at this online concert, but unfortunately, Rin wasn't so lucky. She did perform a new song, however, she wasn't singing it. And no, it's not another lip sync error. Ungrey Days by Sumiki was chosen as Rin's song for this concert. However, when she started singing, it wasn't her voice. It was actually Miku's. At first I had no idea how this could even happen, because this is an original Rin song, so how the heck did they somehow get a hold of a Miku cover? But I found out that this song was featured on Sumiki's album Saka Craft, but instead of it featuring the original Rin version, it was a Miku cover. So I believe it was just a simple communication error between Krypton and Sumiki. Sumiki was likely asked if they could use Ungrey Days as a performance and asked for the raw vocals, and so they sent the vocals of the album version, which is Miku's, because I doubt Krypton would have specifically said, hey, we would like Rin to perform this song. I think instead they would have just asked, can we perform this song? So it's more than likely just a simple miscommunication error between Krypton and the producer, but it's still amazing how this error was missed by so many staff members all the way through production, and it wasn't noticed until the concert happened, and even then it was noticed by fans instead of staff. But those are all the Miku concert mistakes I have to share. Like I said, there are rarely any mistakes in Miku concerts, and once more I want to give a huge appreciation to all of the staff members and the band members for being able to put on so many perfect shows throughout the years. If there are any other mistakes that have happened, please let me know, because I actually didn't know about some of these until very recently, and they're very interesting to see. But I hope you enjoyed, and let's hope for even more flawless Miku concerts, and hope there isn't enough mistakes to occur in the future for me to make another one of these.